Brought in a big pile of what I would normally consider junk that needs a lot of help. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So we got a blower, 86, won't start. We got a backpack blower that's taped up. It's got a elbow broke. Got another junky backpack blower, lots of tape, lots of damage, won't start. Chainsaw that's been run hard and put away wet, and a hedge trimmer that needs some help as well. So let's get these things on the bench and tackle them one by one. First thing, probably do the chainsaw. I like messing with the chainsaws, and then work our way down the line and see what we can do to get this stuff up and running and make it some useful equipment again. So a lot of this stuff, when it comes from professional companies, they don't do the best job of taking care of things, especially when they have employees. Employees tend to trash equipment. I had a landscape business before I did this, and I went through a lot of equipment, spent a lot of money fixing stuff because people just did simply not care. So I understand the frustrations, and I'm going to see if I can help this landscaper at least get some of his equipment operating again and save him some money. So let me get this camera set up on the table, and I'll start bringing equipment over here, and we'll see what we can do. So first thing on the bench is an MS311 saw. Customer said that there was multiple issues with it, so I'm gonna start going through stuff. Don't know if it runs or not. Didn't get a complete rundown of stuff. He did leave me these parts, and this is gonna be for the chain tensioner. So I can see a few problems right away. So we got this stud right here that is backed out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that back down. Let me zoom in here, show you guys how I do this. So there's a trick that guys use. They use two nuts on there and crank it down, take it back off. I actually have the tool to do this, so I don't have to do that. So this is a little tool. I've done a video before, but here's the part number if any of you want to write this down and get it from your Stihl dealer. 5910-890-3001. It's called a M8-9.5 tool. Again, 5910-890-3001. This video will post, so if you didn't catch that, you guys can go back there and check it out a little bit later, get that part number again. But if you're doing a lot of this stuff, I would highly recommend it. That tool isn't super expensive, so all it does, it threads onto that stud. Then all we're gonna do is just keep winding it down until we get it seated into place. And what's nice about this tool is it'll get you all the way down to the case, nice and tight. You can leverage it however you need so you don't strip it out. And then as soon as you're done, just back it off. And then it goes right up the threads, and it does not take the bar stud with it. So pretty slick tool. And that is how we seat a stud in the shop. I'm just gonna try to tighten that other one down just a hair. Obviously if one's loose, the other one could have been loose too. Notice how I'm cleaning these threads off. That's the main reason why these back out, is because guys do not clean the threads off. They put the bar nut on there, and what happens is with the bar nut, it cinches itself on there. So you want those threads clean. Make sure you guys are doing that frequently. Got a little bit out of it. Don't want to overdo it, of course. This is a plastic case. You will strip stuff out. If you do strip stuff out, you can get an oversized stud for it. But sometimes that doesn't even work if it's stripped out really bad. So let me zoom out a little bit here. Next thing we're gonna do, you guys can see that really quick. That tip is broke off of the chain tensioner. We're gonna replace the chain tensioner. They couldn't figure that out. That screw right there is what holds this assembly on. So we need to take that screw out and then we'll pry that all up. So let me get the stuff to do that. So if for some reason your tensioner is over that screw, you're gonna have to get your tensioner moved this way so that way it can clear it, so you can get that screw out. Some people don't know it's there. So we got that. And then all we're gonna do is just get underneath here and pry this up. This whole plastic assembly comes out. And then you got this thrust pad right there. Just go ahead and grab that with some needle nose. If you can bite on it enough. Just we'll have to lift it out some more. There we go. All right, so we got that out. I'm gonna spray this out and clean it. I like to clean everything as I go along. Just a little carb cleaner. And I'll blast it with the air tool. So there's that. Now we got our assembly right here. These have gears on them. So if you replace one, just replace the other one. They come as a set. And so your slide plate, it is threaded so it'll match up to that screw. If for some reason that screw is bent, go ahead and replace that, because you don't want the threading messed up on there, because as soon as you go to use it and crank it down, it's just not going to work. So how you get this off, just wind it like that. Until it clears the end. Then you pick that up, lift it out, take that off. Again, let's clean this off. Come in this kit. Here's the part number if you're wondering for this particular saw 311. It's 1127 007 1003. That is the kit. So we'll put it back the same way we took it out. Drop it back in there like that. We're going to put the slide back on there just like this. We're going to screw it in until we get it to go. Sometimes these are a little bit of a pain to thread in. There we go. And we're going to put this in there and see how the gears interlock right there. We're just going to take this, push it in there, put your thrust plate, put it back there, and then reassemble your screw. And that screw is just going to hold everything into place. So that is all you have to do on that. So customer wanted a new chain. Let's see what we got for the bar here. Looks like a 25. So on this stuff, you're going to look down here, 25050. So I'm going to go grab a chain for that. And I've got a customer here, so I'm going to help him really quick, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back here. So 25-inch chain, what we're looking for, 050 gauge. Stihl's got 050, 063, so I just want to make sure I'm getting the right chain for the bar that the customer has. If you had a Husqvarna by chance, Husqvarna also has 058, and Stihl does not sell that on their saws. I think they make 058. I've never ordered it before. Not really sure why Husqvarna even does it. It's more annoying than anything. So I don't ever use that gauge unless I have to order it in for somebody. Nobody has been able to ever prove to me or give me a good argument for why we even make an 058 gauge. So let's see here. Get that thrust plate all the way back here. Got that. So if you notice on these nuts, they got the Stihl insignia. I've always been told that you need to have the insignia out because they can bind on there. I don't know if that's true. I've seen them the other way, but there's a lot of times where I've seen them bind and actually pull out those studs. So just a little piece of advice there. Put them on there the right way, even though they fit the other way. That way you can avoid some of that issue as well. So. And I like to use my scrunch to rotate this through. The reason I rotate this through like this is because if there's any slop where the chain's sitting on the sprocket a little funky, this will take that out of it. It'll make sure that I got everything on there right. Then I go ahead and tighten it down. And we'll double check it again so everything's good. And then I want to be able to pull up right here, almost be able to pull those drive link teeth out, but not. So since this saw has been sitting a while, let's just dump out the gas. Not much gas in here, but let's get rid of it anyway. And we'll reconnect this for the customer. So there's a little groove inside there. I don't know if you can see it right above my finger. That ball sits in there. So all I do is just drop this down, then hold it with my thumb, and then pull up like that and hook onto it. So pretty easy. That's how those things get reassembled. So if yours is dangling around or running off, put it back in there. It makes it so that way you don't leave this on the ground and lose it. All right, let's go around back, see if we can start this bad boy. All right, so we got that one fixed. Next one on the bench, BG86. So I already did the hang cord test, passed the hang cord test. So I'm gonna do my basic routine and maintenance. So of course, first thing we're gonna do is get rid of the fuel. Get some fresh Moto Mix in there. This is what I use to test all my stuff. Works great, never have issues with it. Take a look at the air filter. That's sort of a mess here. So, tank vent right there, pretty dirty and clogged. Take care of that issue before we try to start it. So pretty filthy there. And then I try to clean this stuff up just because we don't want that crap falling in the gas tank. I know the customers aren't going to do it, but That's what I do at the shop. I want to make sure, take care of as much stuff as I can. There's a lot of preventative maintenance stuff that you can do to keep things from having issues. So, got that. Let's put a new spark plug on it. So the only plugs I use, NGK, Bosch, or they're going to be a Husqvarna or Stihl branded plug on their respective units. So that one looks a little tired. CMR 6H is a spark plug. Get a Stihl branded one here. I like NGK and Bosch the best. I would never put anything else besides that or the OEM ones on there from the manufacturer. You will have intermittent running problems sooner or later. I don't care who wants to argue about it, but I've seen enough of them. All right, let's see if we can start this. Choke it. All right, so starts, runs fine, won't shut off. So let's take a look here. More than likely, it's probably going to be dirt up in here. Just keeping the contact from making a good contact. Because, of course, people don't clean their stuff. Ever. All right. So let's just blow this stuff out really quick. I'll spray it with some carb cleaner. See if this took care of it. If not, we've probably got either a switch or a bad wire. I always try to clean stuff first. Let's try it again. So more than likely a switch on this guy. I do not have that switch, so I'll have to order it. So I can't get that one fixed right now, but I'll get the parts ordered. And next up on the bench, gonna be our 600 backpack blower. So this one apparently does not start. Let's figure out what's wrong with this one. So let's do the obvious again. Let's get a spark plug. Spark plugs are cheap and easy fixes, so let's always start with cheap and easy. And obviously we'll check the fuel. That's usually the main culprit. I mean, that's what the spark plug looks like. I don't really care if it works or not. The customer wanted the stuff serviced, so we're going to service it, and part of that service includes a new spark plug. Just make sure that's pushed all the way down on your contact spring. There's some pressure in there, so this is probably a tank vent issue. Try to get this fuel dumped out. All right, so I am probably gonna replace fuel filter, especially on blowers. Fuel filters get dirty. This one I think has the double fuel filter. So there's the secondary hose right there. It's got two fuel filters. Let's get those swapped out. So how we're gonna get this back on there, these are sort of a pain. Probably grab that with my needle nose. some dirt in there. Let me blast that out really quick. The thing with fuel lines, fuel filters, make sure you get them seated down there enough and make sure the lines aren't pinched. Because if you get the stuff pinched, it's not going to be able to draw the right amount of fuel. So, top it off with some good fuel. These new Stihl Motomix cans, they have this pull tab on top, but they added this stupid vent on top. So the first thing I do is get rid of it. So it's annoying. It makes the fuel come out too slow. Top that off with fuel. Again, the tail on the caps. Find your area. Put it back on there. And boom. So a major thing on backpack blowers is the tank vents. So the tank vents are sort of hard to get to unless you take the shroud off. So let's pop the shroud off. I'll show you guys how to do that. The air filters, these can be a mess too. But air filters are usually not a reason why the blowers don't work unless they were like super, super packed and caked on. That's dirty, but it's not dirty. All right. Want to show you something here. Notice all the oil residue down there. That usually means that there's a seal problem. So I can almost guarantee this blower's not going to start, that the seal's bad, and it's going to be a critical problem. Probably had some air in there, and it's going to be causing piston scoring. But let's just finish going through the steps we've got this far and see if we can get it started. But if it doesn't start, it's going to be due to an engine failure because of a leak. Blowers and trimmers are notorious for this. So that is what you guys need to watch out for right there. So I've done enough of these to know that as soon as you have oil residue buildup, you've got a seal problem. And it's right most of the time. But every once in a while, this stuff surprises me. So let's blow all this stuff off. So I want to show you where the tank vent is. So right there is the tank vent. That one is somewhat clogged up. So we're going to blast that with some carb cleaner. And we're going to blast it with some air. All right, so let's get that shroud put back on. Something I also check is the magnet here. Make sure it's clean. If it's rusted, I clean that off too. Check underneath the ignition coil. Make sure everything's clean. I just don't want to give anything an excuse to not work right, so. Cleaning takes care of a lot of problems. The other thing we need to check there's going to be a spark arrestor screen in here. They've messed up this where it has bad air release. That could be part of the problem we had too because it was crushed. But if you look right there, that is really clean, so that shouldn't be an issue too. If it was all covered with black carbon buildup, we'd have to take this off and clean it out, but that should be good. So those are the main things that I look for on these. Tank vent, spark arrestor, ignition coil contacts, spark plug, carburetor, make sure that's cleaned out, fuel, and then the fuel filters. So if you're checking all those things on a backpack blower, most all the time you're going to find your issue. And of course, like I said, the oil residue, that's probably going to be a seal leak. Now if it's oil residue over by the carburetor, that's a different story, because that's just for mixing the oil. But if you're actually seeing it sitting at the bottom of the engine, that becomes an issue. This is missing a few screws, so let's get them put back in there. Somebody tinkered all with it at one time. And I talk Tinkerbells. Some guys get offended by that, but whatever. I don't like it when stuff comes into my shop that somebody has messed with and they don't know how to fix it. and they've taken stuff apart, and then they bring me a handful of parts. That is quite annoying. It takes a whole bunch of extra time that I wouldn't have to necessarily spend on this stuff if we would have just left it alone in the first place. So, well, let's go outside and test this. I test them with the air filter off. I want to see how it is before I throw a brand new air filter on it. Because if it doesn't work, there's no point in putting an air filter on it. So we got a choke. Well, there's part of our problem there too. So without that purge bulb working right, it's more than likely not going to start. Let me see if I can at least get this going. Then we'll have to order a purge bulb. Probably not going to work with that. Might surprise myself. All right, so I was able to plug it up enough, get some fuel in there, but that definitely has to be replaced. All right, so we need parts on 3 of them. This hedge trimmer, the blades are broke, need to be replaced. The other blower, the elbow's broke, that needs to be replaced. But as far as getting stuff running, everything is up and running. So now we're just down to replacing the parts that are obvious and broke. So that is servicing 3 pieces of equipment in roughly 45 minutes. So yeah, I'll get the parts ordered for that stuff, and hopefully by the end of the week, first part of next week, customer will have his equipment back and can start using it again. So that's all I got for right now. I do have this 562 XP on the bench. I am going to make a video about that, replacing the top end piston cylinder scored. So look for that to pop probably later tonight or tomorrow. So once I get a chance, I will get that one done. So thanks for tuning into this live, and I appreciate you guys watching the channel. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe down below and like the video. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.